Well, I'm glad the interviewer, there's no video for me, but I listen to the audio. But I'm glad the interviewer is asking, who got hurt? Can you trace any of that? Of course, the guy's very vague and is like, well, let me just say how dangerous it is in principle. What's dangerous in principle is basing all the security on these covert operations. Many of these things that are hidden don't need to be hidden. And hiding everything like this in a really thick blanket to especially hide the war crimes that shouldn't be hidden at all, they shouldn't be done. And there's things released in some of the WikiLeaks documents where, you know, we admit that it's our policy to lie and break these rules that are our rules. So all of this stuff is made covert, and really only one or two little bits of detail should be covert. See, that's the problem. What is the cost of all this covert stuff? See, if you're like, well, we can't admit we did something wrong. We have to hide that. But we admit that if we do something wrong, we're going to hide it. So when you say you haven't done anything wrong, nobody can believe you. See, the benefit of overt operations is trust. And you will get the benefit of the trust, even from your enemies to a certain degree, when it's time to surrender and things like this. But your policy is specifically to not admit it when you do something wrong. There could be no trust. So what is the cost, and how many overt casualties do we have because they can't trust us, even when we really mean, hey, we're going to do this and try to get things right, and they can't trust us, and they still keep killing us. So on whose head are those overt casualties? Now, it's well established that doing things overtly establishes more of a trust in a situation like this. Yes, you take the hit to your reputation. Yes, you take the hit. Maybe they're going to know a little bit more about how you operate than they operate. In computer science, we know very well that security through obscurity doesn't work. When you have to hide the source code that decodes the software, that's not going to work because you have to give the people that software where it's shared, the process. And they will slowly figure out what it does. So we found out that, you can have an algorithm for encoding and decoding information that is totally public. And the part you hide is a secret little key. Yes, you still have to hide that personal private key, but you would never have to share it, unlike the source code that has to be shared. Everybody has to see it. So that's what you need, personal keys. In terms of covert information, we need a scientific approach. What harm really happens? I think all of the Apache video logs should go straight to a public database. Okay, and we should do the scientific research to decide, hey, when you do that 5 years after the mission, what's the cost? 1 year after the mission, 6 months, 3 months after the mission, and you take, your half max kind of thing to figure out where the cutoff is. And yes, there'll be some price you pay for being overt, for being out there. Sometimes your reputation will take a hit because you admit it, but your reputation will be stronger and able to take those hits because people are like, well, at least, when he does something wrong, he admits it. So if he ever really screws up, we have some trust that it'll get out there. This is the benefit. So there will be some amount of bravery involved. But really, in terms of security, there is no hit. You do not have security when it's security from obscurity. See, when you have to hide that algorithm encodement, the hackers find that out before anybody else. The people that made it know, the hackers know, and everybody else is clueless, including the fact that they don't know if their information is really secure because they don't know whether you have a good algorithm or not. If you use a non-obscure algorithm that everybody can know, then everybody can make sure it's really, really clean, find all of the possible exploits, and all they have to hide is their personal password and their personal key. Obviously they can redact names and things like this, but the idea that they just have 90,000 classified documents just in principle, that's ridiculous. And we have to express exactly the cases in which this information or information like it has caused disaster, because hiding the information is causing a disaster. It's why nobody trusts us. When you say, hey, it's bad, we don't want to do Abu Ghraib, we're really serious, we don't like that, but it's all got to be hidden as well, that does not inspire confidence, and that is the price we're paying now. And if you can't see that, then you should maybe look again and again and again until you see it. And the covert information is way overused, it's abused, and the fact that there are certain cases means that we need to talk about certain cases instead of, oh, well, just in general. They could get the gist of something that they might not get. They're there every day. I think they're getting a lot of gists It's the American and Western and world public that is the ones that has their eyes open onto what's going on. But you know, there's exceptions of things that might cause danger to output. Well, if only those things were classified, there wouldn't have to be so much leaking, right? If we could see the rest. Like I will say about that Apache helicopter thing in 2007. Tell me one reason that that should have been classified. You know, the soldiers didn't even do anything illegal. And, oh, because it was an embarrassment. No, embarrassments are not classified. Actual material information, like here is where our secret, you know, attack force is going to come from. The north. They're sitting there camping now. That. Not, well, it embarrassed me. My cousin was in that photo and it wasn't a flattering angle. No, it has, where should it have been classified? It's a perfect example because really, you know, obviously the soldiers were following the rules of engagements. What's really in question is nothing in the tape per se, but just the whole setup. The rules of engagement are called into question. So not the helicopter pilot, some people probably see it that way, but I saw the rules of engagement being created by an insane hierarchy of commanders. Obviously, not a fair, not a proper kind of way to do it. Maybe there is no other way. Fine, let's have that conversation. That's what that videotape shows. So that we couldn't just have some illusion of they say it's this way and we've won this and this and that and the other. And it's really something different. Let us actually see with our own senses. So we're going to vote on this stuff. The more informed we are, the better. You know, and I'm just not buying it for people that are like, no, we can't be informed because if people know how terrible war is, they won't want to fight it. Great, I want an end to war, but I think you're mistaken. People will find out how terrible war is and they'll fight it a little bit differently that seems less terrible, and after a little while they'll realize that's terrible, and then slowly they'll realize the whole bit was terrible, and they'll have other conflict resolution solutions. And but anyway, until that time, you know, we're gonna have to share information, you know, and it's not willy-nilly. I can't possibly advocate. I don't think people should touch classified information unless they have the skill and the time to go ahead and vet it and figure out what's going on. Because other than that, I'm willing to say, yeah, it's classified as secret. I don't need to necessarily know that. But you have people that are conscientiously, for some whatever reason, they already know what the information is, and they're like, this stuff should go out there. No, that's not the problem. The problem is all the hiding in the first place. That is the problem. Government secrecy is the big problem, right? In my opinion. I'll get it.